Hi, shalom friends. The Jewish New Year is coming. It's going to be Rosh Hashanah. And actually an icon of Rosh Hashanah would be the shofar. I'm sure you've seen pictures of it on the greeting cards, on shul stationery. Every Judaica store has it. What we call the ram's horn. There are some traditions from Yemen. They don't use a ram's horn. I think they use an antelope. I think it's called a kudo or something like that. But the more prevalent shofar is from a ram. The ram has different sizes. I mean, the horn could be up to 30 inches and could be much smaller. So when you go to your shul or you see a ram's horn, it will often be probably somewhere between, 12 inches and 14 inches or something like that. But it could be much, much bigger. But is there a minimum? Is there a minimum to a ram's horn to be used for the ritual of blowing the shofar on Rosh Hashanah? And the sages say yes. It cannot be smaller than an handbreadth, a tefach, which usually refers to approximately 4 inches. Why? Because if a person were to take a tiny shofar, I'll show you. Let's say you put a tiny shofar in and you hold it and you blew, the sound would come out, but people might think that you're actually creating the sound not from the shofar, because they can't see it sticking out. So the minimum amount has to be that the shofar could be seen as you're holding it. Okay, beautiful. But as with everything in Judaism, there's so much symbolism and meaning that could be read into every aspect. And here too, the sages of Israel pointed out, why would it be so terrible if you took a tiny shofar? Why would it be so terrible that a person might think that you're not blowing the shofar, but you're blowing some sound through your hand? And they point out the following. The shofar, according to Maimonides and others, symbolizes a wake-up call. And the expression is, wake up, you sleepyheads, those of you that are involved with only materialism. You're sleeping spiritually. You have a soul, you have a life, you have a connection to God. Wake up and reconnect. Wake up and revitalize. Or if you're a Jew, we could say rejuvenate. That's the sound of the shofar. But we all know that you could teach others. In fact, you could preach to others, but unless you yourself are a living example of what you say, usually your words are either completely ineffective or certainly somewhat ineffective. You see, we learn from example. And if the person who's teaching and educating does not follow the words, or an expression in English, he doesn't believe in what he's saying, then the words do not actually enter at all. As the expression in our tradition is, words that come from the heart enter the heart. If it's coming from the heart, that means you actually believe in it. So the sages said the shofar, which is a wake-up call, it has to be visible to the person blowing it. If it's completely covered up by his hand, he might know that he's blowing the shofar, but he's not reminded of that because he can't see it. So the minimum amount of the shofar is, it has to be visible not only to the people hearing the shofar, it has to be visible, so to speak, to the person holding the shofar. Well, the lesson is quite obvious. I'll tell it to you through a cute story, which probably didn't happen, but it could have happened. In Brooklyn, New York, there was a talented family, the Shapiro family, and there was true nachas, because one son became a rabbi and one son became a doctor. Isn't that everyone's dream? To have a son a doctor and a son a rabbi. Anyway, one day the rabbi Rabbi Shlomo Shapiro is sitting in his study, and he gets a phone call. He picks up, and it goes like this: Dr. Shapiro, this is Sadie. I need to talk to you. And the rabbi says, I'm sorry, Sadie. You reached the Shapiro that preaches. You need the Shapiro that practices. Yeah, that's what we need. Not a teacher or a rabbi that preaches. We need a rabbi and a teacher that practices what he preaches. And the same is for each and every one of us that are listening to this. Whoever's blowing the shofar, whether it be to yourself or to your spouse, or you're including your family, or perhaps your community, your neighbors, we preach, blow, but also don't forget to practice as well. Well, may you be written and sealed for a beautiful and a healthy, sweet New Year.